Hello everyone, Sebastian Lucido here and welcome to Headlines and Prophecy. I'm going to read from Revelation chapter 18 as we get started here. Verse 1 says, "After these things I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having a great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prisoner of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hated bird. For all of the nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of the fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. The merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury." And if you look over at chapter 17 and verse 2, it says, "With whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication." So first we have to understand who he's talking about here. He's talking about the great harlot of Babylon, which is found in chapter 17 and 18 of the book of Revelations. And when you understand the great harlot of Babylon, when you look at Antichrist, and there's been six prior Antichrists, Assyria, Egypt, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. When you look at their past histories, the great harlot of Babylon is how they came to power. She's the spiritual sort of infrastructure that the Antichrist walks into. In other words, she puts the social, economic, political things in place. And when you look at Revelations 18 and 17, you see that Antichrist is riding her into power. So when we look here in chapter 18 and 17 of Revelations, we see a look back. We see that a tribulation period is almost over. The great harlot is being judged. And so when they look back, they call out three distinct groups that she influenced in her deceptiveness. And one was the kings of the earth. It says it both in chapter 17 and 18, that the kings of the earth were made drunk with the fornication of her wrath, which means they believed her message. They joined with her in intimacy and her plan and purposes against God and God's people. When you look at the second piece of that, it's the merchants of the earth. It says it 2 or 3 times that the merchants of the earth were made rich with her luxury and with her pleasure, meaning that business, the social media giants and pharmaceuticals and all the big companies and the economies of the world have joined in again with the fornication, that the message. Whenever the Bible talks about adultery or fornication, it's talking about spiritual adultery or spiritual fornication, meaning it's against God. It comes against God. It comes against God's people. It comes against God's word. So here we see the kings and the 7 pillars of society, the merchants of the earth. And then it says that the people, the inhabitants of the earth, are made drunk with her fornication. And so we see this great deception that Antichrist will come into. So she sort of sets the stage. I would call her a forerunner. She would set the stage for him to come into. And so right now she's setting that stage. I believe she's setting that stage. And there's several things that are going on right now. Right now, nations are realigning. They're currently realigning themselves and moving into different positions. There's a void of leadership in the earth because of our stance here in the U.S. So we see Russia ready to move into Ukraine, the Baltics, Belarus, and some of the other old Soviet states. We see China wanting to move into Taiwan and throughout the regions and areas. And then in our own country, we see that our country is trying to dismantle, the leadership is trying to dismantle our history, change the thinking, the ideology of the nation. They don't have a mandate, but they're aggressively trying to change who we were and who we are into their ideology, which is the Great Reset. The first thing that this administration did when they came to office is they appointed John Kerry as the czar for the Great Reset. And his response was, you'll be amazed at how fast this will fall into place. And you have the European Union and leaders of the world coming together to reset, refashion the world. It's called the Great Reset, the New World Order. It's done under the guise of the Green New Deal. And what this does is it takes away the national sovereignty, and it moves our sovereignty to a world governing organization. It won't govern the entire world, but it'll govern a good portion of the world. And it's atheistic in nature. If you just look at how they're training and have been training and teaching our kids, I mean, we're now seeing an outcry from parents who have seen classrooms remotely at home, and they're beginning to see what children have been taught in public schools. And what are they seeing? They're seeing critical race theory. They're seeing division. They're seeing a rewriting of history with the 1619 doctrine. They're seeing social equity, alternative lifestyles, different sexual orientations. They're seeing the enhancement of other religions other than Christianity. They're trying to crush Christianity out of schools. So they're erasing history, taking statues down, changing books. And so this has come to parents all over the country. It's come to their knowledge, and they're beginning to react, and they're beginning to come against this. But this has been going on for 30 years or more. And so what are they doing? They're training kids to a new ideology. What does critical race theory say? It says, what does it do? It pits white against black. I mean, let's just be frank. And, slavery was an evil thing. No one, wanted slavery. I mean, in the modern culture, no one wants slavery. There still is slavery. When you look at what China's doing to the Muslims in their country, it's slavery. And when you look at human trafficking, it's slavery. So slavery has existed since the beginning of time. Slavery was a norm when our nation was founded. It was normal throughout the world. It was normal on every continent in the world, and it was wrong. And then men came to power that undid this and changed this. But the underlying fact that a group of men, of patriots, that turned our country around and brought it out of the clutches of an evil king who had taxation without representation, and brought in and indoctrinated us into an ideology of democracy and free enterprise with the foundation of Christianity. Our nation became the greatest country in the world. And you can't have individual freedoms with this new ideology, with the Great Reset, with the New World Order, the Green New Deal. You have to take away sovereignty and freedoms, and to get there, what you have to do is you have to divide the nation and divide people. And so that's what they've done. I mean, what do we have? We have vax or unvax. I don't care if you're for it or against it. They're driving a wedge, and white and black. They're driving a wedge. And through this divisiveness, I mean, if you just look at the president's speech last week, let's just be frank. Last year on January 6th, they call it insurrection. The FBI said it wasn't an organized insurrection, but about 700 U.S. citizens, mostly, I would say, did a terrible thing. They breached the Capitol, they caused damage, they vandalized it. They broke windows, broke doors. One person was killed. It's very unfortunate what happened. Nobody agrees with it, Republican or Democrat. But it happened, and I believe it happened because of the frustration of some of these folks and what they believed as American citizens. We call that protest. When they were burning Oregon down in Seattle and Portland, I remember a reporter standing in front of an auto that was burning, saying this is primarily peaceful. Americans do have protests. We had the civil rights movement. We've had several protests in history where they have gone sideways, where people are frustrated with the laws of the land and trying to speak out, but they're U.S. citizens doing that. Well, our president this last week attributed these 600 or 700 individuals to an act like Pearl Harbor, 9/11, and the Civil War. When you look at that, if you just look at the context of that, of two planes with terrorists killing 2,300 Americans by taking two towers down, in 9/11, or Pearl Harbor, the Japanese coming and destroying our fleet and killing thousands of Americans, or the Civil War. I mean, this was a protest. It was wrong. Those that vandalized and trespassed should go to jail, but you shouldn't memorialize this along with Pearl Harbor, 9/11, and the Civil War. I mean, this is not, that. But what does it do when you have the media reporting and not reporting both sides of the story, not caring about truth, but giving a pass to the wrong and deceptiveness of this. There's no pushback on it. There's no truth. And so people like sheep begin to believe that. And that's what we're seeing here. This is the agenda here, trying to mandate control, take control by dividing and federalizing everything. They're making an attempt now to federalize elections. Our system has worked for 200 plus years, and to change the fundamental doctrine, the ideology, our history, trying to undo our history and make it into something it's not, is not going to help. I mean, look at what happened to Donald Trump. Whether you like him or hate him, I mean, I agree. He said stupid things and he did stupid things. But here's the thing, when he came to office, before he even took office, General Michael Flynn, Steve Bannon, Michael Cohen, Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, George Papadopoulos, there were 2 impeachments. All of these people were persecuted by a biased federal law enforcement and intelligence community. They never gave Trump a chance. And now, they hated him before he took office. Before he did anything, Michael Flynn, who was his first appointment as National Security Advisor, was taken down. The Steele dossier, we're learning now that Hillary Clinton's lawyer, Michael Sussman, was paid. He was indicted for this. This isn't me making this up. Michael Sussman was indicted for lying to the FBI. He walked into FBI headquarters and said that Donald Trump had colluded with the Russians. The Steele dossier came out, and Durham proved that it was paid, that this whole shenanigan was paid. Sussman's bill was paid by Hillary Clinton Foundation. And so there's all this deception going on. And, they're saying the borders are closed, but yet people are pouring in. They say there's no crime in the street, yet we have a DA in New York now that has made armed robbery. A person puts a gun to your head and takes your money as a misdemeanor, not a felony any longer. So this is bizarro world. And all of this is leading to an end. And that end is the breaking of our nation and what made us great, to bring us into a new world order or a great reset, an atheistic in nature governmental system in which we give up our sovereignties and we begin to live according to, a world regime instead of our own national sovereignty. I mean, just think of open borders. Just think of the Green New Deal. The Paris Accords. It's an agreement in Paris amongst many nations, mandating certain energy and carbon emission standards that are imposed on our citizens, bypassing our legislature and our president and our judicial branch. I mean, we don't need the world telling us how to live, but that's what Antichrist will do when he comes in. He'll come into an establishment set up by the great harlot, according to Scripture, Revelations 17 and 18, and that structure will be set for him to walk into, very similar to Rome and Greece and all of the other Antichrist nations. So that's what I really think. I please share this with family and friends. We need to build our ministry and get our word out here. I mean, this is my uncensored blog. If you want, this is the censored blog. In other words, I'm doing this hoping to get by the censors. On Friday, I have an episode called, it's our uncensored blog. It's emailed to our those in our database. If you'd like to join our database and get all of our notes for our teachings, have access to all of our curriculums, and get our uncensored blog, which goes out every Friday, called What I Really Think, you have to go to our website, watchersoftruth.com. That's watchersoftruth.com. Sign up to be a free member. We don't sell your information or give your information to any third party. We do email you a couple of times a week notes for our Bible study general on Tuesday and end times on Saturday morning. You'll get notes for that and notes for our line upon line where we study a book of the Bible verse by verse. We're currently in the book of Revelations. This week it'll go out Thursday, so you have to be in before tomorrow to get Revelation chapter 9. And we do that every week. And so again, watchersoftruth.com. Please join us. I mean, social media at any time. This message can be taken down. Our entire ministry could be suspended at any time. And I do believe those days are coming. So there's no way for us to connect unless you're a part of our database. So, hey, God bless you. Have a great week. And I'll see you next Monday for another episode of Headline and Prophecy. Thank you.